Welcome to Session 4 of Lost Tower of Xirus, a 2D20 Conan actual play featuring the Fantasy Grounds virtual tabletop from Nerd Eye Industries. Disclaimer, this is a beginner game, meaning that some of the players are new to Conan, the 2D20 system, Fantasy Grounds, or all three, and there will be some instruction done during play, and there may be mistakes made. In an effort to keep this as correct as possible, it is encouraged for those watching live and those watching VOD to point out GM rule errors. Now, GMs only. When I make a rule error, it is pointed out either live or on the VOD comments, I will reduce my Doom pool by 1 point. Gymnosophist pointed out 5 errors I made in the last broadcast, so I will be reducing my starting Doom count by 5. Those watching live can help out the PCs, and if you want to do so, you certainly can. For every 50 bits that you give, it gives the group 1 momentum, which can be used over their normally allotted 6. Or you can award the GM 1 Doom. And then every time there's a new subscriber during the game, all players will receive a fortune point. Now, let's get reacquainted with the players. We'll start with Varg.
Hello. So that would be me. My name is Zelda. I am playing Varg It's been so long. Who am I? What do I do? Varg is a Asgardian barbarian. It's gonna take me like at least 10 or 15 minutes to get back into Varg, you know?
All right. And then next we have Adama.
Hi, my name is Leslie, and I'm playing Adama, who is a Corinthian noble with a ever so slightly checkered past. I mean, just a hair. I mean, mostly on the up and up, just a little not. So her family pretty much said, there's the door. You can kind of earn your way back in. So she's off adventuring to do that.
Very nice. Next we have Cornelia.
Cornelia is me. I'm Morgan. And Cornelia is the most sheltered little bean in all the lands. And she is starting an adventure that started so great. She left her grandma and she's going to find what her parents had died trying to find, the lost city of Atlantis and all of the artifacts that lay therein. And she just found some cool little girl who speaks a dead language, and she's just found out her grandma died. So her journey outside of the house in about 12 hours has gone up. So this is going to be a fun episode for family guilt issues.
Right. And lastly, we have Kett.
Michael playing Kett. Kett is the barbarian, I guess, bodyguard of Cordelia, I guess, part of this mercenary company. He's the old man of the crew and is likely to stand back and let things happen as they will because he's not the kind of person that says, I told you so.
Which is maybe why Varg has just murdered. What's a nice synonym? Because it's not mercilessly, but just endlessly.
Indiscriminately?
Indiscriminately beautiful. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like she was pretty discriminated, or I feel like they were pretty discriminated about it, to be honest.
You could say they murdered with extreme prejudice.
There we go. That I think fits appropriately.
All right, so with a bit of a recap for those, it's been a while since we've played. We went on a little bit of a hiatus. So last time, the 3 mercenaries, Adama, Kett, and Varg, were tasked with the protection detail guarding Cornelia, the granddaughter of a prominent Coragian noble. Instead of the planned trip to Argos, Cornelia convinced the others to help her investigate the mysterious death of her parents. They escorted her to a seedy roadhouse and inn named Kalshazma. Varg and Adama killed some kidnappers and are now protecting a weird girl named Padri, who bears a strange mark on her forehead and speaks Atlantean, as Cornelia just said. Kett and Cornelia met with a man named Arak in the back room of a Lotus Den, where it was revealed that the drug dealer and info broker was holding something of Cornelia's father's in trust, an ancient-looking urn with a large jewel set into the lid. Arak told Cornelia that approximately a day ago, a Stygian had inquired about the urn and also the key to it. The group attempted to leave the inn and were accosted by a person impersonating a royal magistrate and a company of mercenaries dressed as city guard. The magistrate, quote unquote, that announced that Cornelia was wanted in connection with the murder of a noble woman, Fauza, her beloved grandmother. And then carnage ensued. We will open this session in the aftermath of the butchery at the inn. So I'll call up the map here.
Just to be clear, we're talking about the butchery outside the inn?
Outside the inn, yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was straight butchery too.
There was some minor butchery in the inn, but that was solved by Varg getting some tail.
Yes.
Correct. This is much more messy than Varg seems to see, you know? Many more bodies. Varg does not know what to do with them other than step over them.
So the question is, now that you've cleared up all of these mercenaries, they were, like I said, they were dressed as like Karajan guard, but upon closer inspection, their uniforms were either a little like shabby or like had been rent in places and then like darned again. And some of them had old blood stains on them, and now new blood stains. And then some of the guards themselves bore strange tattoos, which all of you being, well, most of you being mercenaries, realize that they're like mercenary tattoos.
Adama's going to walk over to Padre
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of do the whole like horse, look them up and down. Does she look hurt at all? Like pat, pat, pat.
Right, like feeling all down.
Yeah, like, are you all right?
All right. She doesn't move. She doesn't like protest or anything. She just kind of looks at you curiously as you do this, and then she nods and says, "I'm fine. I am
All
not
right.
hurt.
You did not get hurt. You did not get stabbed. That was all right."
No."
And then Adama kind of like slowly turns around and looks over at Cornelia.
I think Cornelia was last at the main guy, right? There was one guy that was being questioned.
Yes. You had the magistrate. No, it was the captain of the.
Yeah.
Yes. The guy in the shiny died.
Yes.
And then there was one guy who remained.
Right.
So
the mercenary sergeant was the only one that
that remained.
that remained.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And did we get like written orders? It's like a notice of written orders.
Yep. There was a note. It was a brief description that, I mean, obviously they don't have like photographs. It's just a brief description of what you are wearing and what you look like, and that your name is Cornelia. And being of noble upbringing, you don't look like, even though you were disguised, someone who really closely looked and whatnot could tell that you don't have the skin of somebody who's been out in the sun working their entire life, or working with their hands. Your hands are nice and pillowy. So it's descriptions like that, very soft-born, blah, blah, blah.
Gotcha.
And then wanted in connection with the death of Fazia. Actually, it said cruel murder of Fazia.
Oh.
Gotcha. So Adama, you just see Cornelia sort of gripping this paper in her hands, and she's covered in disgusting blood and viscera. and she just looks very shaken, and her grip on that paper is like very, very tense.
Adama kind of looks towards Kett a little bit, like,
Kett's wiping the blood off of himself with a scrap of clothing or scrap of cloth he's gotten off the back of his horse. Yes, yes.
perhaps you should go speak to her.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Give me just a moment. And he finishes kind of wiping off his face and his hands and throws the towel over the back of horse and kind of goes walking over toward Cornelia. Nope. That's the wrong way. Blood in his eyes. Got a little blood in his eyes. What do you have there?
There's a note. It says that I'm wanted, and that my grandmother was murdered.
Murdered. I'm sorry to hear that, child. May I read the note?
Yeah. And she'll hand it over.
He'll take the note, but before he actually digs into the note, he'll just kind of put his hand on your shoulder, firmly, but not hard. Almost like he's resting it there. Squeeze a little bit.
It can't be right. We just left her. It hasn't even been a day. We should go back.
Things are happening faster than expected.
Expected? What do you mean expected? Did you know something? Kett, do you know something?
Kett can't meet Cornelia's eye. Let me just say that when we were leaving for this particular task, there was a chance that something could have happened. Tracking down your parents and what happened to them is a sore spot for many people outside of your family.
But that's on me. That has nothing to do with my grandmother. She didn't even want that.
Child, that's not how this life works.
I lied to her, and now I lied to her. I lied to her, and it was the last. It can't be true. It can't. Kett, it can't be.
We can't go back. If we go back, we risk them getting a hold of you too.
This is a mistake. It's gotta be some kind of mistake, Kett. They got something wrong.
Kett, what are you not telling us?
What do you know?
I don't know anything for sure. I have suspicions.
What are you suspicious of? There is something going on here. It seems as though you know more than you are saying.
Cornelia's parents were killed at this ruin looking for an ancient power. Right? That's the story. That's what we know.
Yeah.
Why would somebody be killed over that?
Treasure, probably. People thinking they could get money out of it. That's what my grandmother always thought.
People kill for many reasons. Some for power, some for money. In this case, what your parents were looking for may be real. If it is, there are countless numbers of people in power who would gladly kill to get their hands on it. If they suspected that your family had any information about this item, the location,
So my grandmother died because of me.
your grandmother died because of actions that were taken long before your birth.
Cornelia, you did not kill your grandmother. There were
Maybe.
people who wanted power or wanted money, and they thought they could get it by going through you.
If I had stayed home, though.
You'd be dead too.
Right. Instead, you have us, and we will kill them. All right?
What about my cousin? Do you think they killed him too?
One could only hope.
Well, he's not a nice person, but I don't think he deserves to die.
All right, fair. I just did not like it.
Spend no tears on your cousin, child. Not now. Not yet.
Do you
We
think
know
he's
nothing of him.
handle of this?
Why would he do that?
Kett?
Cornelia, power in families can sometimes be the most corrupting of all.
You just described my whole family.
You can see that like Cornelia is just having her whole world just like shattered. She looks so lost. She looks so overwhelmed. It's not doing so good.
Adama has that my whole family.
I don't see how anybody could be like that.
Cornelia, there are so many. I am so sorry, child. And your grandmother seemed like she was a strong, powerful woman who was taking good care of you. It is a big loss.
We will deal with this, but we have things to do in the moment. Things to do now.
What are we doing now? How many bodies are there laying around, Eric?
Let's do the count.
Dead. We're literally standing in a
amongst-
field of dead bodies.
because they actually had reinforcements show up also. So let's see. You've got the mercenary sergeant there on his knees, like at your mercy. I think he may be unconscious at this point.
Don't we have like a highlight reel sponsored by Little Caesars or something? Subway.
Right. So there is 21 dead bodies laying here and an unconscious mercenary sergeant.
Well, everybody was having that very beautiful and sad conversation. Varg was looting the bodies.
Well done, Varg. Well
I had
done.
plenty of time to do it.
Sure.
I even had a lot of fun moving my character around the screen.
I saw you too.
There were a lot of bodies. They had to explore. They had a lot of stuff on them, and at the very end, Varg went to go show Padre everything that he found.
Yep, they all had arbalesques, so crossbows, small shields, spears, and that's all of the guards. The sergeant has, I think, basically the same thing. Yes, and all in brigandine armor, with the insignias of the City Watch. The magistrate, on the other hand, was in mail armor, so chainmail, full chainmail, had a two-handed sword, and he had a horse. I think it was a war horse, actually, with a lance strapped to it. Although, thank goodness he didn't use that.
Yeah. Ouch.
Okay.
Strangely enough, there's only one pair of shoes between all those guys.
That's a very good point, Kett. With all of their uniforms and everything like that, their footwear does not match.
Go figure. Yeah, I think Varg just like gathered all of their like armor and weapons and just like tossed it into a pile in front of the child. And then at the very end, he was like, Varg offers you weapon. Would you like lance? Varg is partial to small shields. And then he holds up like 3 shields strapped to one arm.
All right, she's looking at it, like looking at the pile, and shakes her head and she says, I'm not trained in weapons. Will you train me?
Varg doesn't have good training. The word is habits, skills. Varg learned lots from Kett, but Varg just likes to swing axe. Varg swings their axe indiscriminately. That wasn't the word, but that's how Varg feels.
Oh. And she looks down again, and I mean, she kind of pokes him with her feet, and like picks up one of the spears, and it's actually like the shaft it's like shafted. For those watching, we just dropped a player, so that's why the camera looks a little strange. So once Morgan comes back, then we'll get things straightened back out. So I am going to actually turn off the camera feeds here. There we go. Oh, and she's back.
Hooray!
So it's going to be a little bit out of order here, so let me get things situated here.
I mean, I'm happy to vamp.
Yeah, please do.
Varg will pick up another spear on the ground. Varg would suggest spear and sword. You can poke and bash. No training needed. Varg guarantees it. And then he's going to turn back towards the group, and it looks like things have maybe quieted down over there. Varg would like to know if allies require weapons, or chainmail, or Varg sees two-handed sword, which is very, very good looking.
Ah.
Very heavy, though. I dragged it. Don't tell anyone. As he shouts that.
Adama will come over to check out the two-handed sword.
There's also some chainmail. I know you're a heavy armor wearer.
Yeah.
That does me no good. Varg kicks in, it hurts his toe. Like, useless.
Yeah, Adama will pick up the two-handed sword and the chainmail.
Okay.
We could perhaps use this. All right, so no coin. Yeah.
Varg thinks they were poor.
All right. Clearly, they weren't very good mercenaries if they didn't ask for any gold up front.
Well, they are wearing the town guard's armaments, but they are clearly not from the town guard.
Yes.
It's worth noting I'm absolutely taking the insignias, maybe like about 5 of them. And I'm gonna stash those away. The city watch insignias.
Okay.
So we don't find anything else of sort of use on them, Eric?
Not really. There are some coins. You find roughly about 10 gold worth of coins, mostly on the magistrate, as if like that's what their payment was going to be once this was all said and done.
Oh, by the way, Varg has gold. And then, as if he just completely forgot, he like pulls out of his pocket like the 10 gold. Would you like some gold?
We should perhaps split it. Hmm? All right.
Varg refuses to do math. Absolutely refuses. Varg will hand you the gold, but Varg will not do the math.
Adama will count out 2 each of the 10. It's all right. It's all right.
Thank you.
These lessons were literally beaten to me. So
That's fair. Varg can kill very well. Very well.
yeah. All right. So what are we get? What are we doing next? Cornelia.
I was about to ask Cornelia. We have to continue moving, child.
If we go back, aren't they liable to try and throw her into the prison?
I guess we can't go back.
If we return, they're likely to not imprison her. They will simply end her life.
Okay, well, I don't want that. I think we should leave here.
And she takes like a very queasy look at all of the bodies around her, also where she has previously thrown up.
We should keep going.
Varg has to use the bathroom. And like without real explanation, he's just gonna run really quickly inside the inn. Because like Varg was raised proper, so he's gonna drop off a gold coin at the counter.
Okay.
To the individual whose name I'm sure is very important.
I just have them as busty bartender in my notes, so
Okay,
BB.
And Manlet?
Mm-hmm.
in Manlet, yeah.
And Manlet.
BB and Manlet, yeah.
Best NPCs. So he'll kind of slam the gold coin on the table. Varg apologizes. There is a small mess in courtyard, but Varg, this coin will cover it. And he's gonna wink poorly. You know when people can't really wink, they kind of just like squeeze both their eyes closed.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then
My-
walks away.
All right.
my
Yeah.
favorite version of that is the compilation of every time Alexis has tried to wink on Schitt's Creek, which is just like a 3-minute video of this woman going like,
Oh no.
I highly recommend it even if you have not watched the show. It is like genius. Like she just doesn't know how to wink. Like
It hurts. Definitely the sentiment you get from Varg. Like it's just a lot of like eye squeezing.
Right. She doesn't like smile. She doesn't she doesn't seem shocked. She just puts her hand on top of the coin and gives you like one quick nod and then pulls her hand back and the coin is gone.
All right.
As
Varg will
if
make-
this happens here all the time.
Sounds right. All right. So
She does say, I'll take it as you're walking out. So BB's brother, Manlet, meets you at the door, like as you're turning and walking, and kind of rubs their hand down the middle of your back and says, "You might want to get out of here. The actual city guard is probably on their way."
Ha. Varg understands. Thank you. And then awkward eye squeezing.
They don't know how to take that, so they just look at you like, what? What is that? I don't know.
This is stealthy Varg. Yeah. They're gonna rush outside to where everybody else is. Varg is ready to go. What are we waiting for?
We're just deciding where you're going, but perhaps we can talk about it while we walk. Yeah.
Varg agrees.
Perhaps less walking, more riding.
All right.
Oh yeah, you have our horses.
Yep.
Mhm.
Cornelia has settled into the silence of the deeply traumatized. So wherever Kett thought next to go based on their journey with Cornelia's parents, and this is me not so subtly shoving this into Michael's responsibility of where we're going. That's where Cornelia is going to have that lead on.
Let me check my highly detailed notes. Wait, they might be on the back. Nope.
All right, I think we are going to go try and speak to
We were going to try and hunt down Sinopus.
Synodus.
We were going to try and track him down, but the more we find out about him, the more I'm like, maybe we should just avoid this sneaky man because he sounds like a douchebag.
But he might be our only clue.
That's true. That's true.
All right, you found some sort of what did you get inside there? Let's start heading back that way. What did you find about what your parents were looking for? And there was some sort of urn. You've got this big urn thing.
Yeah, so I met that guy down there, and his name was Iraq, and he had been holding something for my father for a really long time, and I guess he just was holding it until someone came for it. And Cornelia's going to take it out and kind of look at it. And the top of this urn has that like ruby on top, right?
A sizable
And
one.
A sizable ruby. I actually have that in my notes as a sizable ruby. And it matches, or it's similar in shape to one of the edges of the coin necklace she's got, right?
Correct.
So as I guess we're traveling, are we on horseback? Are we riding now?
Horseback, yeah.
Okay. So
Kett brought the horses in as the battle was starting.
I'm pretty sure my horse's name was Mustard. So
I have a list for our pet NPCs. Let me look.
I think the mule was Pickle and the horse was Mustard.
It's public animal NPCs.
Yep, I believe that,
Pickle is the mule. Yep.
Yes.
yes. So
Mustard is someone's horse.
I'm opening
Okay.
that up for the viewers to see. Yes, there are notes. The animals NPCs are all named after food.
Yeah.
Worked hard on this.
So as we ride, Cornelia's gonna look at her necklace and just try and see if she can match the shape of it, or kind of put like a child with blocks that are like not the same, like kind of just like seeing what fits, or like, I don't know, kind of putting it on top and like tapping it, or like, kind of twisting that, kind of like, this thing has a secret, and like, how can I figure out? And these two things are, I know, supposed to go to somewhere they're supposed to go together. So how? So she's going to try and figure that out.
Right. So you have, there it is. I will share that with everybody. So yes, you have the necklace. It has strange notches, and it's a very, very old and worn out coin. And you're looking at it, and you're taking this ruby that's on the very top of this urn, and you're like fitting it around, and the hole that is next to the wolf head, not the edge that's worn away, but the actual hole itself, seems like a pretty good fit, because it's an uncut ruby. It's not it doesn't have any edging or anything like that. It is
There's no facets. It hasn't been worked.
exactly right.
That's
So yeah, it is a raw ruby, and that raw ruby fits right into that hole right next to, if you're looking at the numbers on the outside, right next to the Roman numeral 6 there.
Okay.
So, and it's a perfect fit.
Okay. So kind of as carefully as she can on horseback, she's gonna try and, I don't know, wiggle it, see if she can kind of pull out the ruby.
Okay. Yep. You start to adjust it and fit it in there. It kind of sets with almost like a click, as if it's meant to fit in this spot. And then you can put your fingers on the outside edge that's worn away as more of like a grip. So this is very much like you're holding onto the urn and you're turning this ruby. And when you do, there's a loud crunching noise. And when you bring your hand away, the ruby is now set into that space. And the top of the urn just kind of crumbles away. And inside looks like a rolled up, some sort of rolled up parchment or something.
Oh, so the crunching is extremely alarming to Cornelia, who has this like running thought of, oh God, I broke it. 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 And then I can also imagine, like, as she's turning it, she's like so excited about it fitting that she's forgotten that it's a necklace attached to her. So she goes to twist it and then it's like, and like has to come back and like finagle it again. Okay, so as soon as she's got it open, she's going to very carefully kind of fish out what's in there.
Okay. Very gingerly pulling this out.
Mm-hmm.
Make a lore check.
Yes!
I love lore checks. You got this.
Okay, I don't need this anymore. I can get rid of that. I can get rid of that. Lore. I'm gonna roll just the 2, right?
Yes.
Cool. I succeeded.
Yes.
And I got momentum. Do I click the green thing?
Yes, you would add 2 momentum to the pool.
Okay.
All right. So that roll was just, as you're looking at it, you're like, how would I extract something like this? Because as you're looking at it, you can determine that looks like this map has very likely it's been in here for a long time. And very likely, if it's as old as you think it is, just pulling it out would, unless you're super, super gentle with it, just pulling it out, if it's paper or whatever, you would, it would very likely crumble in your hand. But as you're looking at it, you realize that it is some sort of leather, like a very thin leather, and your 2 successes with your momentum determine that it is actually stretched human skin.
Does Cornelia like legit scream?
Cornelia's been through a lot in the last couple of hours. So Cornelia is going to just like wordlessly yell and then just kind of like as gently as possible just like tap it back in and then put the lid on it. And it's like, okay. And then she's going to put it in one of her bags. So she has, when they stop, eventually she's going to actually look at it.
Okay.
But like, she just can't handle that right now. Just spiritually, emotionally, physically cannot deal with that right now. So
like at Cornelia's scream, Kett actually pulls back on the reins and like rears his horse for a second, like looking around and almost going into panic mode.
it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. Today is a very bad day.
What did you find? I saw you over there like messing with a thing.
So I opened the urn, which is very cool, actually. And the ruby fits right in at my necklace, which is really interesting because it's not fastened, so it fit and then it clicked. So it's a pretty intricate lock to have that specific. Anyway, inside it looks like. I wish it was parchment, but it's not parchment. It looks like something. It's like I don't know what it is. I'm gonna wait. It looks like it might be like skin.
Oh, all right. That's a bit morbid, but okay. Is there anything else on the urn itself?
I didn't look. I should look. So she's going to pull it back out and look at the outside of it more and kind of see if there's anything on the outside that she can determine.
Okay. That would be another lore check, but this is there are markings, but I'll have you make a lore check, and I'll set your DC at 2.
DC at 2. Okay. No whammies.
Oh, can I use one of the momentum that
You certainly can.
So I add 3, right?
3 dice, and then drag and drop the momentum chip, so that way your pool goes down.
Okay. And then I'm gonna do that.
Nice. 4 successes and generated 2 momentum. So spent 1, generated
nice.
2.
That's that lore, baby!
All right. So you got 4 successes. That's awesome. For one of those momentum that I'll give you the information. For momentum, you can get more information. So as you're looking at it, you can determine that the urn itself looks like it had been in somewhere relatively dry for a long period of time, but then more recently it had been exposed to some sort of moisture. So it was actually getting a little bit worn away. Some of the glazing and whatnot that it had, but the number of successes that you got, you realize that this glazing and everything was actually done more recently, that it was painted and then glazed to cover up what's actually underneath it.
Ooh. Okay. Glazing more recently, underpaint.
So if you want to spend a momentum, I'll give you a little bit more information.
I would like to spend the momentum.
Do
Okay.
It's
Hooray!
knowledge time.
All right. So as you're
The
looking,
more you know.
that's right. So as you're doing this, you realize that even though it had been like painted over and then reglazed, you can actually run your thumb or your fingers over it, and you can actually feel the indentation. So this had actually been, this urn had actually been etched at one time, probably originally, and has strange hieroglyphics underneath this glazing. And you can actually, with the momentum, you can actually trace out some of them. And as you're tracing them out, you are identifying Atlantean writing.
Whoa. Atlantean. Had a real nervous moment there where I was like, hieroglyphics. How the fuck do I spell? I think I've got it right.
There will be a quiz after the game.
Just do it phonetically. No one's reading your notes.
Okay, so Atlantean. Now she knows things. Cornelia knows. Where do I find her languages? Is that in background? She knows Atlantean.
Mhm.
Is it ancient Atlantean or just Atlantean?
Atlantean is by default ancient.
Ancient?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so do I know what this says?
Yes, you do. It is the mark. Apparently, it is the mark of the house of. Let me get my notes.
House of my notes.
House of my notes. It is House Nepriti of the city of Ku Azoth, which you can spell that phonetically, it's fine. And you know that Ku Azoth is actually I will do it this way. That's why this is in the game.
Language, fun, secrets.
That's right. So
While this is going on, I think Kett will ride up next to Varg. Varg, I saw you messing with the bodies. Did you find anything that would identify them?
Varg doesn't know what you mean. Varg can tell you that they were City Watch impersonators, and let me see. Token, haha. Here is one of their tokens. Shoddily done. Varg has done better, really. Don't mind what it actually is.
And the insignias that Varg took, were they actually the City Watch insignias, or were they like the mercenary insignias? Like, did they have some other?
Oh, that's a good question. I wrote down City Watch, but
Yes, their uniforms, the insignias on the uniforms were City Watch. The insignias, like
Yeah.
people will do, they'll get like, if they're, their esprit de corps, they're going to get their unit tattoo on their arm and things like that. The unit tattoos and the tattoos on their bodies didn't match the units, like the City Watch. They were definitely some sort of a mercenary.
tattoos.
So if either one of you wants to make a lore check, you can. And if one wants to assist the other, that's fine.
So, okay, Varg will tell you about, Varg saw some very nice tattoos, but Varg's information of where they came from is, Varg has seen tattoos everywhere. But, Kett, what do you know?
All right, so Kett will make the lore roll with maybe some assistance from Varg.
Yeah.
So Varg, so we'll do Varg first. Varg, switch your number of dice to 1 down there at the bottom, and go ahead and roll your lore. If you succeed, then it will add, your successes will add to, and you can spend. No, you can't spend a momentum on this. So it's just 1 dice to assist, and if any successes that you get will add to Kett's.
So I'm sorry, is it just a 1d20?
Yes, a 1d20 for an assist. Oh. There you go. So that is
That's a terrible roll.
that is a terrible roll. Yeah. So with this, you could do it that way. That's fine. Or you could double click the 6 on your lore on your character sheet, and it would have.
Oh,
done
that's
it
what I
for you.
want. Okay, that's what I got confused at.
So go ahead
I
and
didn't know how to
you know what? We'll just give you a mulligan on that one, and go ahead and roll the lore on your sheet.
Who doesn't love a
That
mulligan?
is-
That's right.
Oh, okay. So how do I make sure it's only going to roll 1 though, and not 2? Because on the left side, I have a DC 1.
Yeah, it's going to be DC 1, but then the yellow dots down at the bottom.
That's what I had to fix. Okay,
Yep.
thank
So
you.
just turn to 1 yellow dot.
That's what I needed. It still sucks.
Yeah, it was better, but it still didn't succeed. All right, so yeah, you just like it's.
Varg is busy eating some snacks, and Varg feeds the snacks to Kett's horse.
Horse is appreciative of snacks.
Yeah.
All right, so no extra successes for Kett.
Okay,
So
is Kett also rolling a 1d20 for the lore check, or is it standard 2?
No, it's a standard 2, and then if you want to put any momentum into it, you can.
I think we could use a little bit more knowledge about these guys, so I'm going to blow a momentum on this if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, I use it.
All right.
What's
So
wrong
you've
with
got 1
this?
success. Yeah.
Yay!
It said I did not succeed.
No, it says you did.
Oh.
It says
Yeah,
you
1
did
success.
Oh, I did succeed. Oh, I think I was reading above the.
And
the line.
you forgot to up your dice to 3. You only rolled 2 dice.
Oh, okay. Well, let me
You can switch it down
roll
to 1 and
I'll roll
do.
an extra one here. Yep.
Momentum.
Yeah.
There you go. So the 2 successes, that gives you a momentum.
All right.
So double click your momentum pile, add 1. There you go.
Great.
All right. So you, as Varg is telling you about these insignia, and I guess I didn't hear when I was doing the adjustments and whatnot. What did you do with the mercenary captain or the mercenary sergeant?
I mean, I can tell you what I think Varg would do, but I'll let y'all decide first.
If left to the default setting, what did Varg do to the mercenary sergeant when everyone left?
Varg is merciful. Varg simply tied the man to the back of his horse and, gently put a gag of some broken spear pieces. And Varg has friend.
I feel like Cornelia would have been out of it enough to not notice that for like the first 10 minutes and then freak out when she finally notices it.
Just be like a more wordless screaming.
It's fine. Varg has new friends. Varg will take care of man, and Varg will get information.
Has he been dragged this the whole time?
He's strapped to Varg's horse.
Oh,
Varg is not a
I
monster.
thought you were dragging him behind your horse, and I was like, I mean, that guy's dead after like 20 minutes of that, so...
Varg knows those are tactics we can do back home, but Varg has learned the hard way that you cannot drag people in snowless lands.
Less screaming from Cornelia, then.
Oh, good.
All right, so we'll say that when you're talking about this, then
I guess we could if he's on the back of Varg's horse, then we can certainly just like Kett slows down just a second to kind of like look over the dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like
pulling up a sleeve, like pulling up
that's
the back.
Perfect time for Varg to be feeding your horse some snacks too.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
It works.
All right, so you can easily identify this. This mercenary company, they call themselves the Desert Devils. And they are, let me call up the world map.
Nerds.
The Desert Devils. And they are, that they are Shemitish or Shemite for the most part. I mean, they're mercenaries, so they, they'll take on all kinds, but they are generally from Shem.
All right.
So they are not Karajan locals, but they were posing as Karajan cops.
Mm-hmm.
And Kett will repeat that out loud. They appear to be he's one of the Desert Devils. They're Shemitish. They're not from around here. They were sent.
Varg thinks we should shout this information at Cornelia. Maybe she has information that can connect the dots or connect the holes. That's the saying. I've heard you say it. Varg will connect the holes.
So, I don't really know anything about mercenaries except for Kett.
Oh. Varg misunderstood your level of knowledge.
Well, level of knowledge regarding mercenaries. I know lots of stuff about the Shemitish people, and I can speak it. And I know, and she'll just rattle off, like, everything she knows about, like, the country and the language and the people, but like she has no idea about anything practical.
And then while Cornelia is rattling off information about the Shemitish people, Kett will take a look at the note that he was given by Cornelia.
Okay. It was written in Karajan.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, it was written in Shemitish. Because Karaja actually, I don't think they have their own language. I think they use either Shemitish or...
Is
it Kothic?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's written in Shemitish. And it's written in a very elegant handwriting.
Yeah, you had read the contents of the note previously. I just didn't recall them. If you want to just give me a brief recap.
Right. It gives the description of Cornelia, and then it also says that wanted in connection with the brutal murder of Fazia, and she is to be brought in alive. All with her are to be put to death.
All right. Well, good news. If another mercenary company catches us, Cornelia is to be brought in. We are to be killed.
Varg's favorite news is the one where they want to kill him. And
is-
he's gonna turn around and like smack the back of the man enthusiastically.
It is freeing to know that that's their end, because it does give us a little more leeway.
Anyway, we already killed like 20 of them, right?
Also, you could just totally pretend that that guy was the guy I was with, and you guys are the mercenary group that got hired to get me. You have a note. You have orders.
Varg is impressed with your knowledge. I've never done a what do you call it when you lie to people with a disguise?
Deception.
That's the one Varg would love to be a deception.
I like the thought of lying. Cornelia's just gonna kind of start crying again.
This is a tactic I'm familiar with. We call it the Stygian swap.
Okay.
So I'm gonna guess that Padre is like riding with Adama.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So she just
Yeah,
tossed her.
she's like got one arm around, you know, like your midsection there, just kind of holding on as you're riding, you know, like galloping. So it's not like it's really hard on her.
Much more comfortably than our unconscious captain.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And,
Adama's like, I'm your mom now.
and she's holding this short-handled spear and just kind of looking at the tip and just kind of marveling at it for a moment, and then and sees what's going on, and you know she's very nonchalant about all of this.
Padre, I have some questions for you. Like while we're riding right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
First of all, it seems that you know this strange language that Cornelia knows. That she said no one speaks. How did you learn that language?
She looks over at Cornelia and looks back at you as you're riding, and she says, my mother taught it to me.
Your mother. So it was the first language that you learned.
Yes. This language, and she kind of stops. She says, I stumble over the words. I don't speak it well.
Well, that makes the two of us. Actually, the three, if you count the Varg over there.
Mm-hmm.
So, your mother taught you this language. Do you remember where you grew up, child? Do you remember anything about it?
Well, not. I remember my room, and I remember my mother singing to me, and the food. The food was good, much better than the food I've had since I've been here.
We'll have to fix that.
And then there was my men who said that they were my father's men, and they took me and my mother to a dark room, and that's the last thing I remember. And then I woke up, and the man was the man from here was. I woke up and I was in with him.
All right. Well,
And then she kind of stumbles for a moment, and she says, the man, Sidonus, and then she spits.
Right, Sidonus. What do you know about Sidonus?
All right, and you ask, and she spits again, and she says, well, he was kind to me. He said that he would make sure that the bad men wouldn't get me. But I guess then his wife took me, and then I was told that he was dead. But he was nice to me. He fed me and made sure that I was safe until I got to his home.
All right. This is all very strange, that you speak this language that is the same language that is written on that thing, right, Cornelia?
Yeah.
Don't you find that a bit odd? It's a language that no one speaks, and then all of a sudden we find this child whose mother taught it. So it is their first language.
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird. Technically, like, no one's spoken that language for insert how many years that would
Like
be.
5,000.
Like 5,000 years. It's not a language anymore. I mean it is technically a language. It's not a language, but like no one speaks it. We don't technically know how to pronounce things, which is what makes this so fascinating that you know. And it sounds so natural.
Well,
You wait, Padre, you said sorry, the bad men. Who were the bad men? The guys you were with the lady?
No. That was the lady's how you say
Paramore?
big man,
Big man.
new man,
Ladies?
some man, something, other man.
Okay. All right. Side piece.
Yes, side piece, right.
So, okay. So those were the bad men.
No, those were just the ladies' side pieces.
Right.
Yes.
So
the
wait, you
bad men were. I only saw one bad man once, and Sidonus or Sabonus,
Sedona Cenobus.
Cenobus, got me away from him before he saw me.
Okay. So I'm sorry because Morgan is also bad at listening. She was with her parents.
With her mother.
Her mother, and her mother hid her in a room, and the next thing she knew, it was Sidonus Cenobus taking her.
Correct. Well, she woke up on with Sidonus.
Okay. Weird. How long ago was this?
All right, she scratches her forehead and says, well, maybe 10 days, maybe a few more.
Oh, very recent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With Sidonus, yes.
Wow, so recent. Okay. I don't really know what any of this means yet. I think I should...
Cornelia, we need to try and find her mother.
Yeah, but, I mean, maybe we're on the same path, because if I'm trying to find, a place of Atlantis, then maybe we can find her mother if she's also from there. Maybe there's a whole lost civilization that's still there and still thriving. I mean, my parents always thought it was just going to be ruins, right? Just abandoned buildings and things to uncover. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's a whole group of people or a whole city or a whole culture that just hasn't been in contact with the rest of the world. And maybe it's not a lost city. It's just sort of secluded, or I don't know how to put this. Maybe it's not just defunct or abandoned or destroyed, but we just lost in contact with it, maybe, or I don't know.
Cornelia,
Yeah.
you remember how lost you were when your parents, right?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I'm equipped to handle that right now.
Yes.
In any case, Listen, Padre, what I'm looking for is something that my parents were looking for, a city or a culture or something to discover that was Atlantean, which is you. It's crazy. But maybe if we go and try and find what my parents were looking for, we can find your parents and we can find your mom and you can go back to her.
I would like that.
Yeah. I'd like that too. I've got a lot of stuff, or this urn that's got some Atlantean on it. What do you know about Kuazoth?
All right, her eyes open like oh, and she says, "That's home.
That's your home?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's where I'm from. Cool
So
off." And then she
she's
smiles.
gonna take the urn and kind of shake it a little bit, and she's like, "So I think this urn has to do with Kuazoth, and maybe the thing inside it is maybe some notes or maybe a map. I want to be in a stationary place and not on mustard right now when I look at it because I don't want to break it. But maybe it can take us back there."
Okay. And she smiles.
Cool.
And that's the first time you've seen her smile.
Awesome.
Should we maybe just try and find someplace to camp?
Yeah, I mean, we could find a copse of palms or something off the trail and find a little shelter.
Varg makes a very good fire. Don't worry, Varg is excited.
All right. So to do that, you can roll survival. Now you are in a desert environment, and Kett has the talent Desert Born.
What?
So that if you click on Desert Born, it says that whenever you when in the desert, the number of successes required for any survival test you attempt is reduced by 1. So this will be a survival DC 0 for Kett to find a not only suitable camping spot, but one that may not be very easily seen.
Let's give this a try.
Okay.
Kett puts his hand to his eyes in the classic looking across the horizon.
Right.
Is it possible to assist?
Oh no. Oh yeah, he did succeed. Oh, that's right. It's a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you succeed. You just didn't generate any momentum. So, well, actually, technically, yes, you could assist Adama if you want to. It's 1d20, and you would be rolling your survival.
All right, so take off one of the little dots here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then click on survival. Where is it? And is it still DC 0?
For you, it would be DC 1.
DC 1, okay. This is...
Hey, succeeded. So that generated that added 1 success to, because Kett automatically succeeded, even though the DC was 0, which actually generated a momentum then.
Sweet.
Hooray.
All right,
How
so
do you
wanna-
add the momentum?
you double click the green chit there. There you go.
Yay.
right.
All right, so we will cut to the camp that night as you were sitting there. Everyone is nice and cozy and whatnot. The guard captain or the guard sergeant is now conscious, although he is acting like he's unconscious. So you can do with him what you will. And Cornelia, you're sitting there with Padre, like sitting next to you as you're looking at this urn. However everybody else wants to be.
So, sorry, I'll let everybody place themselves.
Oh. I want to set a bit of a scene so maybe I can get some assistance in figuring out what to do. Varg will take the what do we call it? The captain?
He's a sergeant.
Sergeant, just the sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
And drag him off his horse and toss him to the ground. So whether or not sure, he can continue to pretend to be unconscious, but like maybe the grunt that he made when he hit the ground was a little telling. And Varg would like to appeal to Kett. Varg has questions about can Varg interrogate the enemy with force, but not in front of Varg's friends, you know?
What is wrong with your eye?
Oh, Varg was practicing deception. Was that not clear?
Blink with one, not both.
Huh? Varg's got it. Anyway, what should Varg do? We need information. Varg knows this, but Varg is worried that Cornelia might break. Varg forgets how fragile people can be, you know? You just stab someone and they collapse, and Varg knows that stabbing emotions. Varg feels those too.
We can take the sergeant away from the camp. We'll simply bring a torch for some light. A bit of distance may do us some good and give Cornelia a break from any more brutality tonight.
Varg doesn't think there was that much, but okay. And with that, he'll go ahead and take the prisoner just kind of deeper into whatever kind of cops trees, just some hidden area, especially if it's dark enough. We'll just kind of use whatever shadows to obscure what we're doing from our main camp setup.
Okay. All right. And then what is Adama doing?
Adama is probably just sitting and watching Cornelia. And, you know, like she's not really a cook, but she'll pull out some rations and make sure that, Padre at least eats something.
Okay.
We have a bunch of, I didn't put it in my inventory, but we took some stuff from the inn.
Some food.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think we took some rolls and
Yeah.
Yes. Meat rolls. Yes.
Meat rolls.
yes, the
yeah.
meat rolls.
Meat buns or meat
Meat
cakes.
rolls?
Meat buns. That's even better.
They've only been riding around in the hot desert all day.
Oh, it's fine.
Hey, they're cooked. They're cooked.
Fine. Ugh.
A little extra spice.
All right. So as
I'm sure our characters have eaten worse in worse situations.
Oh, yeah.
very likely. All right. So as Varg and Kett go off, they drag this poor sap into a dark area of the trees there. Padre kind of watches them go for a moment, but doesn't say anything. And then Cornelia, you've got the urn now. What are you doing with it?
So first off, I'm gonna like unfold from my pack like a little table that'll like fold out, and then I'll pull out a bunch of tools and like set up a little lighting area and like gloves, like very archaeologist style.
Sure.
And I will use very gentle tweezers to kind of pull the skin map out of the urn
Okay.
and just kind of unfold it and see what it says. I'm so excited.
Okay. So that is the map that you pull out of the urn.
Loading on my screen.
Same on mine.
It's not
It's
showing?
Loading.
Oh, it's still loading.
It's loading.
I can only see it on Twitch. Yeah, it just says loading for us.
Okay. So as you're pulling this out, and just the feel of it, you can tell that it's it's very thin. And you know what it's made of, to the point where it's kind of a dried, like a light brown, but it's so thin that as you're looking at it and you like put it, as you're putting it onto your table, you can actually, for a moment there, you can actually see your finger through it as you're pulling it. So it's like just very, very thin. And you don't, well, actually, I don't know. Let's see. Does Cornelia have medicine or healing? She does.
She does have a little bit.
Okay.
Ah.
All
I
right.
figured I should be useful to the group in some way.
Okay. I will leave it up to you whether you want to identify anything more about this skin that you probably don't necessarily want to know.
I think that Cornelia is going to like take a second to be heaved out and then like swallow that in the pursuit of academia and knowledge. Focus on the knowledge and kind of like swallow all of her gross and just kind of focus on what she can find out.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and have a lore check.
Lore.
Now, I can tell you right now that okay, there you go. So you generated 2 momentum on that.
Okay.
As you're looking at it, it's obviously it's a mountain range. Can you see it now?
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
All right. So you can see it. It's a mountain range. There's no identifying marks or anything, just this writing, which is the writing above this brown line, which you can assume is probably a road of some sort, is written in, let me double check and see if you speak it. Yes, you do. It's written in ancient Stygian.
Yay.
And so I will write on an ancient Stygian what it says.
I love knowing things. Okay. I love feeling like Daniel Jackson in SG-1, where it's like, here's an obscure language that you have absolutely no reason to know. And it's like, I can read that perfectly. Okay. All right. So in her notebook, she is going to write the translation and then kind of mutter it out loud.
Okay.
It's beyond the road. It could also be path based on different interpretations of the word, but yeah, I mean, based on the line, it looks like road and of skulls. Xirus sleeps in Ku Azoth. Okay.
So you say all of that out loud.
Yes.
Okay.
Adama kind of like perks up. She's like polishing her boots or something, like just kind of listening to you. And she looks up and gives you a very strange look when you mention the road of skulls, path of skulls.
Yeah.
Cornelia, could you say that part again?
Yeah. Okay. So this line here, it says beyond or far of the road or path, depending on your interpretation of that particular piece of ancient Stygian,
Yes.
is beyond the road of skulls. Xirus sleeps in Ku Azoth. That's what it says.
That's very strange. There's a road of skulls near my hometown.
Oh, okay. Does it have a lot of mountains or
They're
hills?
well, there's plenty of mountains where I'm from, but there are these stones. They stick up out of the ground. They were said to be mile markers for something called the Road of Skulls. Me? Weird.
Okay. Then we should maybe go there.
We should go and speak to well, my aunt. She is a bit touched, right? She's it's a little strange, but she is the one who told me stories about it. I really don't remember the stories. I'm very bad at that sort of thing. Also, I kind of didn't care. But she said
Okay.
something about the family and the road of skulls and the keepers of the past. I don't know what these things are, but I remember her saying them. Yeah,
Yeah, I
very
think
interested, and I have no idea what she was talking about.
I think your aunt would be great to talk to. Padre, do you recognize any of like this map or?
All right. She looks at it. Now she points. She's looking at the writing, and she can't. You can tell on her face that she can't. She can't decipher what the writing is. But then she reaches out and she points at this strange symbol in this pass, just left of center. It's kind of faded.
Okay.
And she points at that. And when she does, let's see here. You've seen that symbol before. Now,
Okay.
you know Atlantean, okay? So you know that it is, the symbol means the red wolf, okay? You've seen that. I mean, just translating it, that's the Atlantean symbol for the red wolf.
Okay.
But now that you're looking at it and you've seen it before recently because let me put it up here. Because just a little bit ago, you've seen it etched on Varg's axe.
Haha.
Huh.
And it's super worn down on the axe, but you've seen it there before.
Ha. On Varg's axe.
And
Right now, Cornelia feels like that image of Charlie Day in front of the Pepe Silva board. All the lines.
Anyway, so she points at it. Kadri points at that symbol, and she says, "That's my father's symbol. That's my father."
That's your father's symbol. Your father is the red wolf?
Red wolf. Yes.
Is that like a title?
She thinks for a minute, and she says, "I don't know."
Okay. What does your dad do?
All right, she thinks for a moment, and she says, "My mother always said that my father was a great man, and that he was very busy, and that is why he never saw me."
Oh, okay. So you never met your dad.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay.
Eric,
That's your.
does Red Wolf or anything about that sort of strike Adama? Your aunt would have she would have talked about like the legend of the red wolf. You remember, and you don't remember necessarily. Actually, let's do this. Let's make a lore check, Adama.
Lord.
Yes. What's
I
Adama's
love
lore?
how last episode it was like combat, and I was like, and now I'm like, truly my episode.
So
me-
you can use if you want to put any momentum into it, you certainly can.
Do it.
How about if I
Got
throw in
5? Yeah.
Do it.
You
We
can use
need more. I'll just roll another lore check.
There you go. So you can use up to 3.
Okay. How many should I use? Like, what do you guys think? I have literally the worst lore, you guys.
Take 2. Take 2
Yeah.
if you want.
I think it'll
All
have
right.
to be free to.
What is the
Count as
DC?
This one is going to be, well, you're remembering something. But it's not. It's something that you as a kid you absolutely had zero interest in. So I'm going to make it DC 2. But with the 2 momentum, you get 4 dice, so you can change your yellow dots to 4,
All right.
and then double click your lore. 2 successes.
Wow.
Yay!
That was lucky.
All right, so Red Wolf, and you're like, to Adama, the Red Wolf, there's a story that your aunt would tell you about the 2-headed red wolf that lived in the mountains. And that it was supposedly the son of some ancient princess and a sorcerer.
So, Adama's last name is actually like Vigaos, which is it basically means like wolf people.
Mm-hmm.
So, was there some sort of connection to her family that her aunt said, or was this just kind of legendary?
She claimed that that your family was descendants of these. We have, it's always sounded like goofy stories. We have, the blood of some ancient, ancient sorcerer from, many, many thousands of years ago in our veins, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So Adama will kind of.
But because you got 2 successes, you actually get a little bit more.
Okay.
The Red Wolf, she would tell you about the Red Wolf, and she's speaking to you because you're Corinthian. So, she would be speaking to you in Corinthian, but the word she used for Red Wolf wasn't in Corinthian. She actually used a different name for it and said that it meant the Red Wolf. And that name is Adzad.
Adzad.
Yeah, so the 2-headed red wolf was named Adzad, and she says that, and then she would say that your family is descendant from the wolf, or the red wolf.
Can you spell Adzad, please?
Sure. Yes, I will. Adzad is spelled A-D-Z.
I wasn't close.
All right, so A-D-Z-H-A-D.
I was off it. With
Wow,
the
I was
H.
not close.
Had most of it except for the H.
I think by you spelling names too to us prevents us from renaming them.
Yeah,
accidentally,
sure. Yeah, no problem.
i.e. me from renaming it.
I don't know that I'm pretty sure we had that spelled to us the first time.
I'm
so
using
I
this
don't-
as an excuse.
I don't know. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to bust your chops. I completely blew that for you. I'm sorry.
I think it's just
Oh
now
no, it's okay.
official that his name is just Sidonis or Sidonis.
Yeah, I think
like,
it's
his
both. Like,
middle name.
it's-
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like every time we're saying it, we're using both names. And I keep thinking, all right, so we've actually made that his full name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And it's still interchangeable.
Yep.
So Adama will sort of turn to Cornelia and be like, all right, so my aunt, she was, she would tell me these stories, very, very strange stories. There was something I remember, and she literally takes out a flask and like does a shot as she's talking, like, I think better when I'm drinking. So there was something about sorcerer, and our family was descendants. They called it the Red Wolf, but she did not use the Corinthian name. She said there was some other name. It was like Adzad. I think it was Adzad.
Okay.
But that was the name of the Red Wolf. Supposedly it was part of our family. Our history, I don't know.
Okay, so maybe there's like a whole family line. Oh, she's gonna take the very, very delicate map and kind of roll it back up.
Mhm.
And now question, because she's like a scholar and she's very prepared about these kind of things. Does she have something in her pack that is like cheesecloth or something that she can help like fortify this?
Oh, yeah,
it doesn't.
sure.
Okay, so she's gonna take the time to basically make sure this thing does not crumble into disgusting dust.
Right.
And additionally, she's going to sketch it in her journal.
Okay.
Backups are helpful. And then she's going to put the map away. And she's going to find Varg.
Okay. All right. So Varg and Kett have drugged this this guard sergeant into the darkness, and you have your torch with you, of course.
It's for a little bit of what we like to call knifey, talky.
Right. In that order.
Yep.
So yeah, he's and this guard sergeant has no illusions about what is about to happen. But he, to his credit, isn't begging for his life or anything like that. He's very stoic about it. You've got him gagged and tied up, so he's just kind of sitting there and waiting for this to begin. And he's kind of looking up at the both of you.
Varg's gonna turn to Kett. Varg will remove the stick in man's mouth, and are you ready for questioning or screaming? What do you think will happen first? Varg will bet you 1 gold piece.
I bet he won't scream.
Varg bets he will scream. And Varg's going to take a gold piece out and just kind of like hold it between his fingers. And he will remove the gag.
Okay. You remove the gag, and he kind of, because, he had some bark in his mouth, and he's like, all right. He says, "Can I at least have some wine before this begins?"
Varg kicks him.
I'll take that as a no.
Oh, no. Varg will give you wine. But Varg was hoping you would scream. You see, money was on the line. And Varg is going to like...
Kett holds his hand out.
Fine, Varg will update inventory.
Okay. So he's just like looking at the two of you, looks at the blades. Do you have blades in your hand, or are you just barehanded right now?
Barehanded.
Okay.
I am, at least.
Yeah, Kett's just holding the torch at the moment.
Okay. All right. He kind of looks at you and he says, "So, what do you want?"
Varg asks questions. You have answers.
Okay.
Varg would like to know, why were you sent? Who sent you? Varg would like to know, tell me about your tattoo deserts. Varg misunderstood. Tell me about your desert tattoo group? Kett, can you decipher what Varg is trying to say? It's hard sometimes,
Yes, my friend is asking for more information about the Desert Devils. I'm fairly sure you understood the rest of her requests, so let's not play games here.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let's start it off with a persuade roll. I will make it a DC. I'll make it a DC 0 because you've got him pretty much over a barrel here. So whoever wants to do the primary can, the other person can assist, still at DC 0. And you can put momentum into, whoever the primary is can put momentum. And then we'll do the role play.
Kett, what are your, I have a 6. Makes it much more difficult to succeed.
In Persuade,
Yeah.
I have an 8.
Okay.
But I think the plan, I thought Kett might assist Varg, and, maybe Varg would want to throw some momentum onto the table.
I'll tell you what, it can be persuade or command.
Oh, let's check that out.
Yeah. And the reason for that is because persuade is, you're being generally persuasive. Command is like, you just tell me what this, you're basically just barking at this person, telling them, you will tell me this, you will tell me that. That's the way that's the way we'll interpret this just for this. And I may be losing some doom in next gameplay, but this is how we're going to play for now. And the reason I want to do that is because, Kett, you actually have a talent called Captain.
Yes.
Which
yes, I do.
Which you may re-roll 1d20 when making a command test. So we'll test that out. So if Varg wants to be the assister, then you can choose. As a matter of fact, you can choose whatever you want to assist in this role. If you want it to be melee, you can. If you want to smack him around a little bit beforehand. For the
And I
assist.
think, I don't know. Again, the interrogation was kind of Varg's idea. So Kett's kind of along to make sure that, like, for one, that Varg doesn't get jumped by the captain or something like fiddly doesn't happen while they're out there. So I think Kett would like to make this Varg's show.
Okay, so have Varg do
Yeah.
You're going to assist Varg. You would still get
essentially Kett is playing good cop.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay. You would still get the captain would still apply, even
Good
though
merc.
you're going to roll
Good merc, bad merc.
Right. So you would roll the 1d20 under your command, and if you wish to re-roll it, you may.
Okay, I will do that.
Does the assist
For the-
happen first?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yep, I'll do the command for the assist. I did not succeed, so I am going to re-roll that.
Okay.
Haha.
Because I can.
That's right.
Oh no! Hold on.
Yeah, that's okay. The first
Nope.
one is what will count. So it succeeded. You re-roll a 1, which actually generates a point of momentum and counts as 2 successes.
Oh, fantastic!
So now,
So
so Varg, you have two. If you succeed at all, you'll get those 2 successes added to your success.
sick 'em, Varg.
Okay, so it's important to note that Varg possesses very little skills in persuasion or even command. While they're kind of like an independent traveler, after they joined the mercenary group, they were so happy to just fall in line and follow. So they don't have a lot of commanding skills beyond their general intimidation. And once you get past that, you realize Varg's not really scary. So
Maybe it was the way Kett said, let's not play any games. Maybe that is giving Varg the bump on her on his questions, on the things that they're asking.
Right. All right. So
success!
yeah, and the difficulty was 0. So you actually you got one. You still got the 1
Only
success.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kett kicks in 2, so you ended up with 3 successes, which at DC 0 generates 3 momentum.
Let me click
All right.
that in.
Yep.
All
Is
right.
that including the one I generated?
Well, no, your success is just added to, so that
Okay.
that would it's technically yes, it
All
included
good.
it.
All good.
Okay, so you definitely have him where he's willing to communicate. So what do you ask him? You just ask him what you asked them. All right. So he's as you're bringing this up, he just kind of looks at you and he says, "We were hired. Let me call up my map of the world real quick. So they were Shemite. He says." We were hired in Asguilon by a man named Sabonis. I was there when my captain took the job and assigned me and my men to come here. We were given these uniforms and told that we were to meet this man. We were just told that he was a magistrate, but I don't believe that he was. So yeah, and we were told to just follow this person's lead. I was shown the order from the hand of apparently the hand of the king or the queen regent herself that said that this person, and he kind of looks towards towards your camp, this Cornelia. Was implicated in the murder of this noblewoman. But he kind of frowns for a second. He says, it's pretty apparent now that all of that was a lie. And then he kind of looks you both and he says, I have no allegiance to anything that happened here. This was just a job. So, I understand where you're at and where your sentiments lie. But I'll tell you right now, you'll never see me again. You let me go, you'll never see me again.
Varg will look over to Kett. Varg has thoughts, but Varg is also leery to take commands.
The other thing with the amount of successes that you got on that, I'll also say that when he said that he was there when Sabonis gave him, hired the captain, paid the money. He had a weird look on his face when he said that.
Varg keeps hearing the name Sabonis. Varg has known somebody named Sadonis, but Varg has thoughts that this might be same person. And he's gonna grab the man by his face and kind of do that thing where he like smushes his cheeks in, and he's gonna bring his face closer to Varg's.
Okay.
Varg would like to know what you know about that man, and he'll loosen his face.
There you go. Okay. Sabonis? All right, he says, well, my captain claimed that he was a Stygian, but I've seen Stygians before. This man was no Stygian. He was noble-born, I can tell you that. Very tall. Smelled of bergamot.
Varg is unfamiliar. Is that a flower or a food?
It's like an oil. It's an oil from a fruit.
We don't have those where Varg is from.
Oh, well, it's got a very, very distinct smell. I remember it because sometimes you put it in tea, and I remember because my father drank bergamot tea. But it was rather odd to have this man, very, very pretty man.
Varg thinks you are rambling. Shh. Varg has one more question. Where is this man, and where can Varg find him?
The last time I saw him was outside the royal courthouse in Karaja. He met with myself and this supposed magistrate. He said that it was imperative that the girl live, and that none other did. He said that he kind of sits there for a second. He says, and then he said that anything that was on. He kind of pauses for a second. He says, anything that was on your bodies that wasn't weapons or anything of value was to be brought back so that way he could go through it. He seemed to be looking for something. A coin or something.
Varg opens his mouth to like almost give away that like I've seen a coin, but some of the training that Kett has instilled prevents them from kind of giving away all of their secrets. Varg sees. Varg has no more questions for you. Kett, should we let him go? I would love to kick him just one more time.
Well, he has been forthcoming.
Varg thinks he was going to loot our bodies, and Varg has no strong feelings about that. I do have strong feelings. Varg does have strong feelings. Varg forgets sometimes what Varg says. Varg has strong negative feelings and would like to express that by stealing his boots. Varg is looking for validation. Will Kett provide it?
He freeze.
He's frozen! It's killing me! No!
That's like he's like the most stoic person I've ever seen.
That was perfect timing.
Oh, that is hilarious.
It's like, so what do you say, Kett?
At what what point does Cornelia come into this?
Cornelia, oh, we just lost him. So I will reduce the pictures again until he comes back. And Michael did say that he was having some thunderstorm activity, so that's not unusual. So we will, yeah. So actually, then Cornelia would walk up as the Varg is having this conversation with Kett, who Kett apparently has no interest in like making a command decision on what exactly they should be doing. So
Beyond like holding the torch. So like
right, he's just like looking at you like, I'm not going to answer that question.
So Cornelia is gonna walk up and be like, "Hey, Varg, I wanted to ask you, is that the guy? Is that the guy from the? Have we
Varg
had
brought
him
his
the whole
friends.
time?"
Varg brought a friend. Varg has answers. Varg has so many answers. You shouldn't worry. Varg
Okay.
has answers. And like that's all that they can really assert.
I thought Wow, we really had him the whole time. I didn't even notice.
Would you like for Varg to kill him? And he's gonna pull out one of his
No. I don't want anybody else to die today, Varg.
Varg can show mercy. Varg can show mercy. And with that he'll lean over and what is the words to cut
Yeah.
all of the rope that were binding the sergeant's hands and legs.
Okay.
So Cornelia's gonna look at him and be like, "Listen, I know that you were hired to arrest me, but this is all some sort of terrible misunderstanding. I didn't kill my grandmother. I loved her. I would never have hurt her. So maybe he
Go ahead.
no, it's fine.
He's just kind of sitting there looking at you for a moment, and he says, "I understand. I believe you."
I don't know how close we are to any town or anything, but if I give you like a small amount of money, will you just pretend this never happened and go away and never tell anybody that you were there?"
Varg's expression is confused, like bribing people with money and not with violence? Huh.
All right. He says, "Miss, you don't even have to pay me. You have my word. I won't. I will speak to no one of this ever, for the rest of my days. I assure you."
Okay. Then you should go.
All right. He nods. He says, kind of looks over at Varg, like, "Are we cool, or
Varg winks.
very
Quotation marks.
very unreassuring on his part." So he just kind of like sits there for a second, like, "I'm not quite sure what that means."
It's passive enough that I think it can be understood as
Right.
you good.
Okay. And then he says, "If you, he's like getting up and like looking around, like, am I waiting for like the next shoe to drop, and he's just like, okay."
Varg waves. Varg wishes you well. Don't miss us. Don't come back. Varg will be terribly upset to see you again. Smiles.
All right. And then he nods, and as he starts to back away, he kind of looks at Varg and Just give me 1 second. I'm actually redoing the cameras here, so give me 1 second.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oops. So he's like slowly backing away from you, making sure that there's not going to be a knife in the back when. There we go. Okay, so I'll switch to the RP version. There we go. So he's like backing away, and he's like looking at the two of you, and then he looks back at Varg and he says, no hard feelings. And I'll tell you what, if you find that man who smelled the bergamot, give him one for me. And he turns and walks away.
Varg would be happy. And he's going to turn around to Cornelia. Varg learned that Sabonis smells like bergamot.
And where we'll end it is, Cornelia, your cousin Kai loves bergamot.
The plot thickens.
Adama feels way less bad about her comment earlier.
And that's where we will end this session.
Poor
So
Cornelia.
Seriously.
Right?
Oh, my heart goes out to her.
Eric, I have one question.
mhm.
Does Padre look like a member of my family by any chance?
She does a little bit, I would say.
Love finding these things out.
All right. So thank you all for watching, and we will be back in 2 weeks for the next episode. Thank you, everybody.